Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with the Watauga County Arts Council, and I want to introduce you to Bill Baldwin. Bill is a new artist with the Arts Council. We've just met him recently, and I was fascinated with his work because I don't know about you, but I class this in the area of folk art, and I think it's folk art is something that's really, really cool. It reminds a lot of us of our heritage. It has a personal, very strong roots kind of a feel to it, and I think it's really kind of cool in its own unique way. And Bill, you've been, how did you start to wood carve? Where did this come from?
My grandfather did it. I had an uncle who did it. I was less than 6 years old, maybe 4 and a half.
So it truly is folk art because you learned it from people that were in your family that taught you how to do it.
And it was born into me, and I could do it.
And you've been doing it all your life?
All my life.
All your life. It's fascinating. Now, you've had other things going on in your life in between all of that because you've had a career. And let's talk about that briefly. You were a teacher.
I was with Community College, Randolph Community College, as an adult educator. And it was teaching in a way. It's more motivation, I think. You've got to know several subjects reasonably well up to a certain level.
Yeah. Did you ever tie your folk art or your twiddling in with that at all?
To a degree, but it was social because I worked with several artistic people. We had a photography program and an arts program there, and so I was around artistic people.
That's great.
And I loved them.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, let's talk about this work that's in front of us a little bit. You've got just about everything one can imagine out here. We have everything from, little statuette type pieces that look like little, soldiers or something like that, all the way to implements that are around the home, like rocking chairs and tools and pocket knives and all those things. You've got vehicles, you've got animals, you've got flowers. I mean, it's like your mind is everywhere. You're carving your entire world. Is that the way you'd put it?
It's a relief. It's better. It's cheaper than drinking. And the little men, I got to Tolkien's work before Hollywood did. This is what the hobbits look like, not what Hollywood tells you, because that's what I saw when I read The Lord of the Rings. Except they do not have hairy feet. I did not. I said, "How do you carve a hairy foot?"
That's a toughie.
I don't know that one yet.
That's a toughie. I don't know if I'd know how to do that either.
And the smaller of those little guys is Bilbo Baggins, and the larger is supposed to be Gandalf, the wizard.
Okay.
And I did those. I promised myself this when I was driving back and forth to State University to graduate school and working at the same time. And I said, if I ever finish this class and get this paper written, I'm going to carve me something.
So that was kind of your reward, your relief.
That's what I do for me.
Yeah, I know a lot of artists that are now retired that were career artists. Career in some other thing, and the art was something they did kind of in the background. That they just did it for themselves. Would that be what you'd say you did?
That's the best kind. I do some writing because I have to. I do this because I want to.
Exactly. This feeds your spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah, this just makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, it makes a lot of people happy when they look at it. Now, what makes you pick a subject, a topic? What do you look at a piece of wood and you say, oh, that's a boat, that's a hammer, that's a whatever, or do you say, I'm going to find a piece of wood and I'm going to carve this thing because I want to carve this item?
Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. There's a small donkey on there. He is carved against the grain. Most of the time you're doing, well, the tree grows like this.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're carving like this. But this little donkey was in a chip that had come from some other piece of work, and I picked it up and I saw him in there, and I could see the donkey in the wood. And he is, in my estimation, he's the best thing I've ever done.
That might be because he was meant to be carved.
I think that's it. In other cases, you look for the roses. I had a friend I taught with was in Florida Zion, deceased now, and I miss him terribly. He was, as I think I mentioned earlier, a heck of a man. He was artistic, and tough as nails at the same time, and
That's a rare combination.
Gentle as a lamb. I don't.
So did he inspire a specific piece?
During the last conversations I had with him, we began talking about carving a rose. This was years ago. This is over 30 years ago. He's been dead for 30 years. And I realized I wouldn't be here that much longer a few years back, and I said, I better carve that rose for Willis.
Wow,
because if I meet him in here after and I didn't do it, he won't get me.
Well, it looks like you've well met his expectations.
I got carried away with the roses thing. I did. I just, and I didn't know how much I loved roses till I got involved with it.
That's
to me,
cool.
it became as a carving challenge.
Kind of a symbol for what you're doing. Now, a lot of these have color on them, not all of them. Let's talk about that. How do you get the color on these pieces?
I'm kind of practical. I have a collection of, like any man with a shop, I've got a collection of colors and shop.
Right.
And a rose tends to be whatever color paint I've got at the time. I like to do natural stuff.
Right.
But, God did not grow us a tree that would be, so you'd have the red for the rose or yellow, whatever, and the green for the stem. He just didn't do it.
Right.
And you can pick one or the other, but if you want to paint one, then the other one looks bad.
Yeah.
And I run across purists who say, well, carve me a rose, and they don't put the color on it. And I say, it's not going to look good. Now, sometimes on this one, for instance, you can get a little bit more subdued color.
Right.
And blend it with a sort of a natural grain, but then you to get any light reflection, you need to put a little bit of some sort of finish on it.
Well, I've noticed several of these pieces have a sort of a sheen to them, It looks like you've applied something to make it shine. And then other pieces are very, very dull finish, So is that part of the strategy here?
That's part of it. It's according to what you start with and what you're going for.
Right.
And I make no claim to having any expertise with colors. We thought I was colorblind for years. And then my optometrist gave me a chart one day. He said, no, you're not colorblind. You're just color ignorant. He said, you can see it, you just don't know what to call it. So you see, and so that's the color. Some things, they just seem natural just to leave them like they are.
Yeah.
Like
well,
the
that makes sense.
wooden ship with wooden sails should look like wood.
Yeah. And I noticed you've got blue water under your sailing ship, but the ship itself is not blue, so that makes absolute sense. Now, Purple Pig, however, I have to ask about.
Okay, well, my children were small, which has been a long time ago. The kid who I wrote this for is now in his mid-40s, but I began to experiment with children's literature. And the story was, have you ever seen a purple pig? And this is character number one. Character number two, quizzical, And the guy goes, a purple pig about this big. And they're walking across the farm. This pig is red. This pig is green. This is a purple pig I've never seen. This purple pig is all alone. He has no one to call his own. And he picks the pig up. And character number two says, no, I cannot see why. You should give this pig to me. And the farmer walks away, and the guy is stuck with the pig. Who really needs a purple pig? Then he goes through his little series of adventures, and then he says, I know what I will do. I will do it too. I will keep this purple pig. I will keep him till he's big, because this is what you would have to do. And the kid turns the pages. If I gave this pig to you. And I eventually am going to do, I hope, with clay and with wood, and do the photography, because I cannot draw. I learned to carve.
That is fascinating.
I learned to carve.
You need to publish this.
Well, I hope to. I've got children's stories.
That was excellent. I really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you.
I think that you need to make up children's stories about a lot of these pieces.
Well, these little dogs might You know, I don't know.
I could only find one of the dogs. I don't know what you did with the other one.
The other one's probably in the wrapping.
I was unwrapping his stuff while he was carving for you.
One is the mother, and one is the puppy. And the little, if you photograph them, and I've got the little piece called "Learning to Hunt." And
so Mom was teaching baby how to hunt.
I said, yeah, the computer is very good for a guy that really can't draw, because he can picture it, and I can do stars and the moon and things like that.
You just need to take photographs of your carvings. That's what you need to do.
Well, I've got some. I'm not, catalog them maybe.
But I mean to illustrate your stories.
Oh, yes. That's part. I hope to do that. Yes. Yeah. I got to do it pretty soon though, because I'm not young anymore.
Well, we'll have to get you busy here.
Yeah, I fretted my life away teaching people, and so.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I want to. Yep.
Well, I really, really enjoy your work. It's just got such a unique character. I don't see much of that here in this area. I've seen folk art exhibits in several places, and I love them. I think they've just got such heart and soul about them, And your work definitely fits in that genre to me, as in that category, which I think is the place that you can find the most success for your work as well. Which brings up a subject. If you'd like to get a piece or two of Bill's work, you might want to get it now before he gets a little more famous, and then you can't get it because you can't afford it.
It helps to dream.
Even
when you're old, it helps to dream.
Yeah, we want to help Bill get there and get to where that you can't afford his work anymore because it's just too famous. But I think it's fascinating. Bill, I love watching your work. I love seeing you carve and how you were taking a block of wood and just kind of, this rocking chair was emerging. I could see it coming out, So now, was this a rocking chair? You've got several rocking chairs. Is this a series?
Well, it was a challenge, and I get on kicks.
Yeah.
And it's been so many years ago, somebody that I worked with, my fellow employees took quite an interest in this. In fact, my work was displayed in my office. My students loved it too. And the display grew, and one of my fellow teachers, Bill, can you carve a rocking chair? And I can't remember which one of these fellows it was. Some of these guys are gone now, and it's really because this was years ago, and it was just something I did when I had time. But that's how I got into the rocking chairs, and then. I have rocking chairs here with pictures, yes.
And one thing that fascinates me is like this, don't want to lock something over. This rocking chair has openings in it, so, you don't just do a flat back sometimes. Sometimes you open it up and do the design, and among them.
Yeah, that's sort of a little whimsical there because of the slant. Now, the ones with the solid back, there's a picture in the front, and those are actually...
they do look like a series.
I'll see my children Sunday, and they don't know they're getting these.
Oh, well, they won't see this before they show it to them.
That's the youngest picture I have of their grandmother.
Oh!
And the other one is the youngest picture I have of the grandfather. And this is one child gets and then another child gets a set with the older.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah. We all want to be on your Christmas list.
Okay. And one child has a right shoe and one has a left shoe. It did this years ago so that the last one of us left alive will have the pair.
That is so interesting. How interesting. Now, I bet your children are collecting your work.
They have put nibs on some of this stuff.
I bet.
Yeah, and I've thought about beginning to surrender some of it because I'm running out of room.
I could see how.
If I could, if a man drinks a lot, if he could sell the bottles. Well, I'm getting to that point. Yeah, and I could buy the shelving for some of the pieces that I want to keep as long as I live.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, my son, when he was no higher than Daddy, when you're gone, and I was not thinking about being gone then, but it's not long now.
But then he said, I want that piece.
Yeah, I want that piece.
Now, do you do commission work? If somebody said, I want a piece like this, would you do it?
If it's something that I know I can do, if I've already done, I would, and I might attempt anything, but I wouldn't guarantee success.
Yeah.
I have done airplanes and that sort of thing, because you can pick up. But this is where you're looking for somebody really knew what they were doing, designed this, and all I'm doing is copy. You know?
Now, where do you get your wood?
I'm about to run out, but I'm in there with a lot of sawmills. Years ago, I was contributing to a church fair.
Yeah.
And I went to a local hardware store, and I said, I need some basswood. And he said, I'll order you some basswood. And it was supposed to be, and I got a block that was about 8 feet long.
Oh, my goodness.
And he said, the one that's in it, Bill said, I said, I'll take it. And I'm still working on that one. I'm about to run out.
Maybe you need to make a big piece.
Yeah. And I have a little cedar. It's a mountain type cedar.
Right.
I need some Carolina red cedar, red heart cedar. And I do a lot of work in that. One of these roses is in there, and you can stain that, you know, with just clear. But if I can't get that, then I use this other and paint it.
That is so fascinating. So so for those who might have access to some wood, maybe Bill would like some of your wood, especially your scraps, because you use little pieces and big pieces.
Oh yeah.
So just about everything's usable.
You pick you pick it up and look. If there's a knot, can you work around it? What is it that's in there?
Yeah. How fascinating.
It's only strictly utility. I made parts for lamps and things like that.
You just do everything, don't you?
Well, I came from a time where you had to.
Yes.
I was that generation. Born before World War II.
Right.
Grew up during the, you know.
That was my father's generation.
End of the Depression.
Yep. And he didn't throw anything away because you might find a way to use it. So.
And if a boy, he got this, he had a knife. And if he didn't, he was never going to be worth anything because he couldn't do anything.
How to use it.
Yeah. And you don't cut anybody but yourself.
Start to say, you're not missing any fingers.
Right.
That's really, Bill, I so much appreciate you sharing your work with us today.
I thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this.
We're looking forward to seeing it more and seeing where you take this, because I think this has got a big future. So, you know.
I am wanting to figure out what I'm doing, and then I might be able to teach someone else.
There sounds a plan.
Yeah. I've got to figure out how to do it. I think I did this with small children for a while, winding guides. But this is an awesome thing. Think about it. Their parents were there too. They were
knives, kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm literally looking forward to seeing more of your work and seeing you continue to produce cool and wonderful things that you see around you and that you feel that you see in a piece of wood. And I hope some of you will not only share your wood with him, but come and see his work wherever you can. We'll, I'm sure, be putting some at the Blue Ridge Art Space for you to look at and then possibly purchase. But also, I think that likely you're going to get to do some exhibiting some other places. So we'll have to find out where those are and let people know.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming and sharing your work with us.
Thank you so much.
You can learn more about the Arts Council and all the many, many things that we're involved in at our website, watauga-arts.org. Learn about this and a lot more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.